الأهواء لله در الحاملات أمانة.
All right, thanks for staying with us, ladies and gentlemen. You're with American Muslims Today on the front lines in the war on error. And as previously mentioned, we have a very, very special guest returning with us today, noted scholar and lecturer and author of several important books, including The Holocaust Industry and his new book, This Time We've Gone Too Far, Norman Finkelstein. We thank him very much for joining us on the show. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Mr. Finkelstein, you're a very extremely busy man these days. You've got the documentaries being filmed on you. I'm being bumped by Al Jazeera because they are always talking to you. And plus your recent new publication, This Time We've Gone Too Far, which is out in bookstores now. Can you tell us a little bit more about your book? It's focusing on the recent invasion of Gaza.
The book goes through the actual record of, it does really three things. First of all, it goes through the motives behind Israel's attack on Gaza, what Israel wanted to accomplish. Then it goes through the record of what actually happened in Gaza, comparing what the Israeli government and Israeli supporters said with what human rights organizations and human rights fact-finding missions concluded. And lastly, it looks at the repercussions of the Israeli massacre in Gaza.
Many people saw the invasion of Gaza and saw it as some kind of a turning point. And does your book go through and is it this recent, is any recent events playing out to further and strengthen your point?
Basically, what I tried to demonstrate in the book is that the Israeli massacre in Gaza was a turning point in the conflict, sort of like the Sharpeville massacre in South Africa, where Israel is no longer able to conceal, hide, make excuses, extenuate, deny the atrocities that it's committing, and that I think, in addition, the public is growing weary of a state that is very powerfully armed and seems to be out of control. And this became even more evident with the attack on the Freedom Flotilla.
That is another interesting point that we wanted to move right into. It seems like every time that a piece is written or a book or a compilation documentary is made on Gaza and the injustices that happened there, it becomes dated because the very next day or next week or next month, there's something new. It's always a new atrocity happening. And you mentioned the Free Gaza Flotilla massacre, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. Are you aware of the current status? I know that the activists have been deported, but what about the aid that was supposed to reach those people?
The latest I heard is that Hamas is refusing to accept the aid that Israel is offering to admit, which is to say that the whole purpose of the humanitarian convoy is that there are large numbers of vital elements for sustaining life that Israel is denying entry. Most importantly, most fundamentally, the people of Gaza need cement because thousands of homes were destroyed, factories were destroyed, and you can't rebuild in Gaza without cement. And Israel selectively chose from what the flotilla was carrying, and selectively chose to allow entry to what it wants to allow entry. But Hamas is saying, no, we want everything that was on that convoy, including the cement.
So they're essentially, trying to basically leave not only the Gazan people without essential medical supplies and all, but also trying to maintain like perpetual homelessness.
What Israel is trying, look, when Israel attacked Gaza, it was not an indiscriminate attack. They were very careful about what they targeted, so they destroyed the only operative flour mill. They destroyed the chicken farms, and they destroyed 23 out of 28 cement factories because they wanted to make sure that Gaza will remain in a state of complete destruction until Hamas is removed from power. That's the reason for denying the cement. It has nothing to do with, as the newspaper, at least the Western media, keep repeating, fear that Hamas is going to build bunkers with the cement, because Hamas has repeatedly said, we'll let any international agency do the rebuilding from start to finish. We'll let the UN take charge, and the UN will monitor all the cement and see that it's being used to rebuild homes, and we'll just take a hands off or keep everything at arm's length. But Israel says no, because it doesn't want to enable the Gazans to rebuild.
Is the Hamas government in Palestine, in your view, holding the Gazan people hostage?
Is the Hamas government holding the people? No. Why would the Hamas government was elected by the people? The regime has become repressive. In my opinion, that's inevitable. When you're under a brutal siege, and Israel has a very elaborate network of collaborators and spies working there, it's probably not excusable, but it's inevitable.
I wanted to get to the accusations, and I think that was one of them. Another one of the accusations was that this whole flotilla, this flotilla of aid and the Rachel Corrie that followed, was a plot that was hatched in Turkey by the Islamist government there, and perhaps in concert with Al-Qaeda or other terrorist, extremist jihadist operatives. Is there any truth to that?
Well, Israel has dropped the Al-Qaeda claim, so we don't even have to discuss that little piece of propaganda.
The
whole thing is ridiculous because Israel didn't have to carry out a commando raid in the dead of night. Israel could have avoided a whole calamity if it really were interested in the peaceful resolution. All it had to do was disable the propeller or the rudder on the boat, as it's done many times in the past. Or Israel keeps claiming that the reason this whole, what it calls tragedy happened was because they didn't expect any violence. They keep saying, we didn't expect any violence. Well, if you didn't expect any violence, all you had to do was board the boat in broad daylight. You can't both claim that you didn't expect any violence and claim that you had to launch a commando raid in the dead of night. Both of those statements cannot be reconciled. If you really expect, as they keep saying, that these were peaceful practitioners of nonviolence and Gandhiism, that they expected to find on the boat, this is what they keep claiming, that's what Israel keeps claiming, and that their commandos were shocked. Well, if you really expected nonviolence and followers of Gandhi, then why did you have to launch a commando raid in the dead of night? You could have simply approached the boat, had bullhorns, announced that we are boarding your boat, or we will be nonviolent, and just barred. They didn't want a peaceful resolution. They wanted one of their razzle-dazzle Hollywood displays of the daring do of the Israeli army. And it was a flop, like all of their recent operations. It was a murderous flop. It was a bloody flop, but it was a flop. They bungled it again.
We wanted to address some of the issues with America's response, as well as continuing relations between America, Turkey, and Israel. So we want to venture on that. We'll have to take a brief break for station identification, but we'll be right back with Norman Finkelstein at the other side of the break. Thanks very much, Norman.
People opinion that it's mostly the secular humanists who are controlling the world and the wars that we are in right now across the globe.
It's not the same thing as being an atheist.
I understand, but the point is it leads to all of that. The point.
American Muslims today.